Hi everyone. Today we are going to discuss a problem commonly experienced and felt in nations where people from various diaspora, various origin and ethnicity are found. In India, in the USA, and in so many nations where people from various nations come in as immigrant. Here you can see on the board a girl wearing a blue faded dress and she is looking aside, and some other girls who happens to be her classmates are perhaps making some funny comments, making fun with her appearance, with her dress, or maybe with her name, and a lot many things. So these kind of prejudices, biases, despise, discrimination, which often seen in such nations. India is also not an exception. Not only in India, there are so many places, because nowadays people across the world are moving from one place to another place. And the question is, should we comment, make fun, should we despise people of other culture and origin rather than respecting this diversity, rather than trying to find out the unity in the diversity? The question is, should we celebrate diversity? So the story is about all these things. This girl, this is actually an illustrative picture, not this girl. There is a character whose name is Wanda Petronsky, and whose parents immigrated from Poland, erstwhile Poland, to the USA, and they settled in a small town. And this girl, Wanda Petronsky, went to the school where she becomes a victim of her classmates, particularly Peggy and her sidekick ally Maddie, who made many comments. They made fun of her because of her peculiar name as per their view, because in America they had perhaps never heard this kind of name, Wanda Petronsky. And because she was poor, because she was wearing a faded old dress, that's why they asked her often how many dresses she possessed, and her one and only answer every day was that she possessed 100 dresses all lined up in her closet. So let's move on. That is the theme. This is a very famous story, and it is known that this story has some resemblance with her personal life. So it's something like an autobiographical, but not truly autobiographical, but the writer had experienced such bitter thing in her childhood. Before you read the chapter, there is a pre-reading passage and some questions to lead in to the text. Let's read it out. How do we judge the people around us? By their money, wealth and possessions? Or is there something of more enduring value to look for in a person? So this is a genuine question, valid question. Should we look in a person, how much wealth he or she has amassed, how much prosperous and flourished his family or her family is? Or should we look how much virtuous qualities he or she has possessed in him or her? This is a genuine question, and we will get the answer directly or indirectly while we move on to the story. Next, this story is a sensitive account of how a poor young girl is judged by her classmates, Wanda Petronsky. So the girl is mentioned here, her name was Wanda Petronsky, is a young Polish girl who goes to school with other American children in an American town. So it is a town, not a big city. And in smaller town, it is quite possible that one may be victim of such kind of behavior. These other children see Wanda as different in many ways. Can you guess how they treat her? So this is a question because she belongs to some Polish nation, an immigrant. So the writer or the chapter questions you how she could have reacted to it, to the treatments she got from her classmates. Now read the information in the box below, find out more about the community or about a related topic from an encyclopedia or the internet. So you may search about this kind of discriminations and all these kind of immigrations from internet, but here is one given which tells something about the Polish immigration to the USA. The first Polish immigrants arrived in America in 1608, but the largest wave of Polish immigration occurred in the early 20th century. So they came in two groups in 1600 and in the beginning of 1900, when more than 1 million Poles migrated to the United States. The Polish state did not exist at the time. So at the time there was not a single place or town or city or state where only Polish could be found, but later all these Polish people settled, concentrated at particular locations. That is what it means to tell. They were identified as Russian Poles, German Poles and Austrian Poles because at the time Poland didn't exist as a single sovereign nation. So people from various nations who were speaking the language of Poland were named after their ethnicity. One of the most notable Polish American communities is in Chicago and its suburbs. So Chicago is sometimes called the second largest Polish city in the world, next only to Warsaw. So Warsaw is the capital of Poland, but after Warsaw, the town or the city which has the largest concentration of Polish people is Chicago. The capital of Poland, Polish Americans were sometimes discriminated against in the United States, as were the Irish, Italians, and Jews. So Polish people were not the only people who were discriminated. There were many others. You can go down the paragraph, and there is some more information in the bottom paragraph. According to the United States 2000 census, 667,414 Americans of age 5 years and older reported Polish as the language spoken at home, which is about 1.4%. So all these things, this kind of paragraph is very much important for your examinations also. They may give you this kind of passages and discursive passages with charts, maps, all these things, and we need to practice all these things before we appear for the examination. So you may go through the passage if needed. If needed, you may reread the passage and answer the question. And you must also know, you must also utilize the techniques of reading, which I have often told you in the class, that sometimes you need to comprehend the passage locally and sometimes globally after reading the entire passage. And sometimes you need to scan the information, and sometimes you need to skim, sometimes you need to read it intensively and sometimes extensively. So it will depend upon the question which has been asked. So here is the question for practice. From the passage above, which among these is an incorrect fact? A. Polish were an immigrant to the US. Sounds good. Polish is a widely spoken language in America. We'll see. The largest immigration of Polish people occurred around 1800. Poland was not existing around 1800. So, if necessary, you need to read the passage again. Polish were an immigrant to the US, no doubt, but it is asking the incorrect fact, so it's correct, no matter. Polish is a widely spoken language in America. When you see the last paragraph, you can see that only older report says the language spoken at home, which is about 1.4% of the people who speak languages other than English, or 0.25% of the US population. So only 0.25%, that means it is one of the least spoken languages. That's why this statement stands incorrect. What is a widely spoken language in America? That's why this should be your answer. This should be your answer because this package is incorrect. So you need to comprehend this way. Then we have a map of the USA, that is America, and the map shows person with Polish ancestry. So the deep or dark purple color is 7% plus, more than 7%. Then lighter purple is 5 to 7%. This one matching this one, and then 3 to 5%. These colors with blue. Then 2.3%. Likewise, there is some information given beside this map, and there is a source also, American Community Survey 2019. And questions may be asked based on these kind of maps as well. So there is another map which tells about this is actually a political map which shows the states of the United States of America. Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Missouri, Kentucky, like this. Now you get both these maps, and now you get the question from the map above. Find out the states where Polish people are in the largest concentration. So this map shows about the concentration of the Polish people, and these are the names of the states. So you should be able to answer the question easily by employing your creativity and critical thinking. So it's find out the states, not one state. So there are not many states. This one, Wisconsin, and then Michigan, and then Pennsylvania, and so these are the states you can mention. Right. So enough of introduction to this chapter. Now plunge into the chapter. Let's see how the chapter starts. Today, Monday, Wanda Petrovsky was not in her seat, but nobody, not even Peggy and Madeline, the girl who started all the poems. So these are two girls, one Peggy and another Madeline, who started all the poems in the class. Noticed her absence, so nobody noticed her absence on Monday. It shows that the girl was not that much important part or important for the entire class. Only these two made fun, but still they couldn't notice. Usually Wanda sat in the seat next to the last seat. Next to the last, remember the sentence. In the last row in room 13. She sat in the corner of the room where the rock boys who did not make good marks sat. So she sat close to the rock boys. Boys were not good at their studies. The corner of the room where there was most scuffling of feet, scuffling this noisy movement of feet, most roars of laughter when anything funny was said, and most more and down on the floor. So she sat in that corner where students were robbed, and the place where the set used to be quite dirty. So this way you have to proceed the first Sanskrit paragraphs, and you should be able to answer the questions after reading the portion silently, because silent reading helps more than reading aloud, either by the teacher or by students. So we need to move on, but let's discuss the paragraphs, what the paragraph cover. So this is about the description of the classroom and sitting position of Wanda and her absence. And then Wanda did not sit there because she was rough and noisy. So all the rock boys sat there, and she didn't sit there because she was rough and noisy. There may be other reasons. On the contrary, she was very quiet and rarely said anything at all, and nobody had ever heard her laugh out loud. Sometimes she twisted her mouth into a crooked sort of smile, but that was all. So this is also about her character. It is actually a character sketch, how the girl was in fact. Nobody knew, next paragraph, exactly why Wanda sat in that seat. Unless it was because she came all the way from Boeing side. So there is this information about the place or the location of the town from where she came in to school, and there is Boeing side, and nobody knew exactly where she sat there. Then this could be the explanation, because Boeing side was perhaps a slum area and there was no proper roadway to the school, and she came passing through mods and dirt, and her feet were usually kept with dry mud, but no one really thought much about Wanda Petrinsky once she sat in the corner of the room. So this also, the last sentence shows that she was an isolated child and nobody paid any attention to her except one or two who actually eagerly waited for Wanda so that they could make fun of the other. So here are a few questions basing on the portion you have just read. Question number 1, the room number where Wanda sat was A12, B13, C14, 15. So you need to scan the information, and when you scan the information, you find that it is located here, room 13. So this should be the answer B. Another question. Wanda sat desk of the room, in the blank, in the middle, at the front, in a corner, on the last bench. So you should be able to skip, because the information, each description is given in the first paragraph, and there is in a corner where the rock wedge, all these things, description is given. So you should be able to comprehend, in a corner. Then another question, Wanda sat in the corner because she belonged to Poland. She was not good at her studies. Her roll number was called at last, and probably due to her naughty feet, none of the above. So, as I have already told you, that nobody knew exactly, but because she came from Boeing set and her feet were full with dried moss. So this option is correct, probably due to her naughty feet. And then this kind of question may also be asked having some pictures, some diagrams, some graphs, and one question here. If this sign represents Wanda's seating position, which picture describes the possible location of Wanda's seat? So these pictures are the benches, the classroom, and this side are all the front side. So if all the front side and these are the benches, you need to find the exact location. You already know that Wanda sat in a corner. So you can eliminate this one and this one as well, because not in the front side. Last row is mentioned there. Then the possibility is C, and let's see if it is D. For this, you need to read the paragraph again. Wanda sat in the seat next to the last seat. So this is enough. So not in the exact corner, but next to the last seat. That means if this is a corner or this is a corner, she sat next to the last one. So this is the possible location of Wanda's seat. So D will be the right answer. Right? So this is about her sitting position, her place from which she came to school. So we have already read the first Sanskrit paragraph of the chapter, and this is followed by another few paragraphs giving some more information about Wanda and her friends, you need to go through the paragraphs silently so as to comprehend the questions which are given in the book and in all the slides. So thanks for watching this video.